Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Liz Kovach, and I'm happy to be hosting this webinar today alongside Leah Curry from the WRLA and Eric Pelche from the Prospectus Group. So we have a slideshow presentation for you along with some images regarding our Support Local campaign. We will be addressing any questions that you might have at the end of the session. So if you do have any questions that you would like to ask, please insert them in the chat function and we will be monitoring them so we can address them all as we continue to progress through this presentation. So just to give you a little bit of background, the WRLA started down the government relations and advocacy journey about 2 years ago, as government representation is a key benefit that member-based organizations can provide to their members. With our size of membership and demands to be more to our members, we knew that we would be providing a disservice if we didn't do so. As GR and advocacy was quite new for us, we knew that in order to be successful, we would need 3 things. One of which is support for members who are vested in the industry and interested to bring forward pain points and issues impacting their businesses, and who wanted to take an active part in shaping a voice on behalf of members and their peers. Number 2, we knew we'd have to roll up our sleeves and get involved as we were starting from ground zero, and we were going to have to put in a little bit of sweat equity as well. And lastly, financially investing in a professional organization that is familiar with the ins and outs of government and the political system to help us with making inroads, which is where Eric comes in, as he is with the Prospectus Group and will be speaking to you in a few moments. We have quickly learned that government only responds to squeaky wheels. So if you're not squeaking, you're not on the radar. And I did steal that from Len Regier, who is with us today. As we have continued down this journey and began building a case for member regions to consider implementing various initiatives, which may include eco-renovation tax credits, among some other areas, it became very imperative for us to have tangible industry data that would lend credibility to our industry and our conversations. To solve that issue, we conducted an economic impact data report, the highlights of which we will be presenting to you today, along with the Support Local campaign we have developed to ensure we are doing our part to represent our members to the general public as well. If at any time you have questions, please feel free to type them out. And without further ado, we'll jump right into the presentation. If it will actually go. There we go. So just to give you a quick review, we did a review of the building supply dealers in the prairies, and our membership does represent a much larger territory than the 3 prairie provinces, but due to time constraints, we really needed to drill down some information that would help us in the immediacy of everything that was going on with COVID. So the objectives of the report are to provide an estimate of the economic contribution arising from the industry or supply chain involved in the building supply chain. This report will focus solely on the building supply dealers and will touch on the wholesale side of the industry, simply because Stats Canada doesn't track all of the various parts of the industry with a specific code. So it was difficult to be able to pull out that specific information on the manufacturing side, for example, because it does get lumped in as a larger group. This report will also provide estimates of the gross domestic product, GDP, as well as employment income, taxation, and consumer spending, as well as a broader set of data to better frame the story of the contribution that our industry makes to the regional economy. Eric, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. What we're going to do with this report, really, just before I start, is it's going to help build credibility of the WRLA and its membership with the government, so that when we're advocating for things from provincial governments or federal governments, that people will know who it is that we represent, what the size and scope of the industry that we represent. And again, like I say, just add credibility to our arguments, and that they know that even though we've been an organization that's been active for over 100 years, that we are still relevant more than ever, and that they should listen to us. And essentially, we wanted to build the business case of the membership that we represent. So the result of the economic impact assessment, we've got a couple of slides here that really give a quick resume, and the presentation is on WRLA's website. So anybody who wants to see it or is late to the presentation, please don't hesitate to share the information through the website. So essentially, and this is the numbers that we're going to present here are obviously greater than the WRLA membership. It is of the entire sector, but the WRLA is obviously has a big proportion of this membership in the sector. So total number of retail stores across the Prairie provinces, 1,343. Total sales in 2019, $7.2 billion in sales from our stores. And the provincial contribution to GDP is total about 2.9 billion dollars, not million, but 2 billion, or 2,869 million. So it's quite a large industry, and the economic impact of the industry is, as we'll see through this report, is undeniable. Employment income, total number of employees supported or job supported, 36,000. Again, this is only in the retail sector. I think there's another 25,000 in the wholesale sector, or the vendor side, should I say. We'll see that a little bit further on during the report. With the total income, so the payroll for our industry is essentially $1.6 billion for the three prairie provinces. So again, quite substantial, especially when you're talking about retail side. Taxes generated, $308 million to provincial governments, and all level of governments. This would include municipal and federal. About $550 million in tax generated. This does not include the HST that we generate. It's really because it's a money in, money out type thing. So it's just other types of taxes, property tax, and so on and so forth, payroll tax, and so on. So again, average or approximate household spending across the three provinces in our sector, $1.1 billion. So next slide, Liz or Leah. We've got a question here from Gregory on BC. For the case of this report, we didn't cover off BC. We wanted to keep it tight to the three prairie provinces. But we are part of there is a national study that's going on right now, mainly focused on the home renovation tax credit of the Harper government back in 2009, 2010. And some of the statistics on BC will be part of that study as well. So thanks for the question. What's interesting is the reach of our industry. So we have stores or dealers in approximately 330 different communities all across the three prairie provinces. Small villages like Cartwright, Roblin in Manitoba, to big cities like Calgary. So it really talks to the fiber of our industry when we can say that we're present in almost every single community across the three provinces. And so when we're talking to government, every MLA, MP has one of our members, one of our dealers in their ridings, at least one. So again, we need to put it in terms that government will understand. We needed to bring it back to something that affects the elected officials to whom we're talking to, so that they know we're not just talking about Lowe's or Home Depot or anything like that that is no concern to them. We're talking about the community-minded the businesses that support the local hockey, baseball, softball teams in their community. And these are our members. This is who we're talking on behalf of. So, of the 27 retail trade industry groups, only 4 have a larger footprint than more stores than what we have. So that talks volumes. And this is just a map of those 330 communities. So you see how we do represent our provinces and how we do represent the fabric of each province. So.
Oh. So one of the reasons I think our industry is so spread out across the provinces, particularly in rural areas, is the ability for our members to be able to scale their stores. So depending on what size of community, there's the ability to really scale that and be able to support the community. And it was interesting for us to see that there are 330 communities represented across our region. We were also really interested to see that 59% of our stores have 10 or less employees. And when I saw that piece, I thought to myself, that's exactly why business succession is such an important topic to be speaking about, particularly in some of the rural areas where the communities tend to be smaller and it might be a little bit more difficult to find somebody to take over, but definitely an opportunity for some grooming in terms of the business succession and taking over. If you take a look at even the GDP impact, it's really important for those communities to continue on with their building supply stores in the region. In terms of the employment piece, we've noticed that the sector is higher in terms of attracting employees, tracking at 9.5%, where the overall average is 9.1%. And we were really interested to see that on a retail side, we were second in line basically to the automotive. I think that's actually on the salary piece, but we definitely are on one of the top employers when it comes to the actual retail industry itself, which you will see on this slide, which breaks it down. So general merchandise stores will be number 1 at employing 48,829 employees in the Prairie provinces, with the building supply dealers at just over 27,000, which Eric had mentioned a little bit earlier, followed by sporting goods, automotive parts, etc. One of the key things that we were really interested in and what we saw that came out of this is that we have, the reason why our GDP is so high is because we represent a lot of Canadian made products. Our members have a high Canadian content in terms of the goods that they're selling, and that in turn has a huge impact on Canada because the dollars that are being brought in from those Canadian sales are actually impacting the communities, the provinces, as well as the larger scope of the country in terms of where those goods are manufactured. And if you want to take a look at the contrast by value, 93% of cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs sold in the 3 provinces are produced outside of Canada, along with some of the other goods, which are major appliances, such as 92%. The sector is definitely benefiting the rest of Canada. As I'd mentioned in the previous slide, a lot of the products are not necessarily manufactured in Alberta, Saskatchewan, or Manitoba, but they are being manufactured somewhere else in Canada, BC, Quebec, Ontario, wherever that might be. That impact is definitely happening to the rest of Canada because we are importing those goods, bringing those in from different provinces as well. And just to give you an idea in terms of the economy and illustrating employment, for every $1 million worth of Canadian-made furniture and kitchen cabinets sold regionally, the slide indicates Alberta, but it is for the region, 13.3 jobs are supported on the manufacturing side and related side as a result of that. And this slide just basically highlights some of those numbers. So it gives you an idea for every $1 million worth of Canadian-made products sold in our region. The number of jobs created are 13.3 on the furniture and kitchen cabinets, 10.6 on other wood product manufacturing, and then the list goes on from there. The other piece we were really interested to see is that from a retail perspective, we definitely weigh on the higher end in terms of the wages that are paid. In the past, we've been asked several times to provide a wage subsidy and to give dealers an idea of what some of the average salaries are for their sector. And it's really difficult to do that based on a survey because we didn't get all members to respond to that. So this gives us a really great perspective on that piece. I was also really interested to see that in terms of the average weekly wage, which I'll show you on the next slide, that Saskatchewan is higher than the other 3 provinces. So here you will see that the average weekly wage on the motor vehicle and parts dealers is $940, with the building supply dealers coming in second at $716, and the remainder coming through there. So this is really great news. I think it's important for members to know that they definitely weigh on the higher end when it comes to wages, and certainly an important piece for when speaking about employee retention as well. There's a variety of career paths. We talk about this a lot when we attend career fairs and have a chance to engage with students, but it was really great to get these statistics so that we can really reinforce some of the various career opportunities that exist within the industry. 1 out of 7 workers in the sector is employed in a management occupation, which is really high. 1 out of 25 is employed in a professional or technical role, such as accounting or administrative roles. And this is really important for us to know, especially when we're speaking with students who might be studying HR, accounting, finance, whatever role they're in, marketing, communications, that there are certainly those types of opportunities available as well, and a lot of them. 1 out of every 8 is employed in a sales support role, and out of every 19 workers, 1 is self-employed, which is also really interesting. In the sector, more than 6% of all workers in the building supply dealer sector are self-employed, compared to 1.4 in the general merchandise stores, 4.2 in the automobile dealer sector. So definitely some opportunities for those who are entrepreneurial minded. And in Saskatchewan, the self-employment rates in the sector are also the highest, which is likely why their weekly wages potentially might be higher as well. With respect to the wholesale side, as I had mentioned earlier, we really wanted to get a full scope of what the supply chain means financially in our region, and due to the way that coding is done with Stats Canada, it was not easy for us to do so, and virtually impossible on the actual larger manufacturing side. But as it comes to the wholesale side, there is a large impact there as well. 24,000 people are employed. The GDP impact is more than 2.3 billion, and that was in 2019. And there are 1,900 wholesale firms ranging from lumber supplies and drywall to paints to wallpaper that our members actually work with. So why is this important in terms of emerging from the pandemic? The building supplies dealer sector will be an important driver of economic activity. We've highlighted the importance of the Canadian-made products, we've highlighted the impact on the GDP, and we've highlighted the volume of sales that go through just even on the retail side, not necessarily in even the commercial side. And one of the things that we found out is that if every household in the 3 provinces were to spend, on average, an additional $500 on repair construction activities on their home, it would boost provincial GDP across the Prairie provinces by $1.5 billion, which is significant. And it would generate $938 million in labor income and support 14,800 jobs. And when looking at so many people who've lost their jobs and starting to hear that there's a lot of jobs that won't be coming back because businesses have closed, they're not going to be reopening, there are people that need to find some new employment, and our industry could potentially be there waiting to take them in. And so in looking at this whole piece, and as we've gone through this entire crisis, and as we've talked about how we're going to respond and support our members, one of the key things that we wanted to look back at is our actual mandate and what our goals and mission and vision are. And our role is to represent, support, and protect the interests of the membership and the industry to government agencies, as well as the general public. Now, we know we've started working on the government advocacy, and we still have a lot of work to do, but we now have a formal advocacy program in place that we continue to move forward with our volunteer government relations committee. And the other piece that we realized that we wanted to spend some energy on is to support our members by representing them to the general public. And that's where the phase 1 of Support Your Local Building Supply Store campaign comes in. And I'm going to pass it over to Leah to walk you through it.
I am on mute. I've been okay. As Liz said, we are launching a brand new Shop Local campaign to encourage people to support their local building supply dealers. Phase 1 is going to be primarily a social media campaign with some added thank you messaging to those who are already coming into stores. You'll see some of the campaign materials a little bit later on in the presentation. But ultimately, what we've been wanting to do with this campaign is to support the fact that what we already know is that local businesses are the foundation of our communities and Canada. And in a large way, the local building supply dealers are a huge percentage of that. And we know that when we support local, we're not just giving money to a giant corporation, but we're giving money to our neighbors, our friends, our family, to people who are in our communities, and then they subsequently give back through fundraisers, sponsorships, they volunteer, their team volunteers. So it's very cyclical. And however, nowadays, as we know, the public is swayed by what they perceive to be items that are maybe more convenient, or things that are less expensive, or what's just becoming popular or more commonplace, but may not actually be as beneficial. And to add fuel to the fire, the COVID-19 crisis has really done a number on our economy, and it's driven more and more people online. Amazon, amongst other giant corporations, are only getting bigger right now. And we want to turn that around. We want people to be supporting their local businesses and not faceless corporations. So we've created this campaign to drive the general public into the building supply stores that are owned by our members, and drive home the fact that these businesses are part of our community and they offer so much more than what people often think about, and they offer so much more than Amazon and some of the other big guys who shall remain nameless. So basically, what we've done is we've focused on some of the different reasons to shop local. So it's about building up your community, it's about keeping your community strong and supporting neighbors and keeping your money in the community. So it's not going to either US corporations or elsewhere, or just even, if you want to make sure that it stays in the city or the community that you live in, this is the way to do it. So Liz, if you can move on. So what we've done is, again, you'll see some campaign materials in the next slides. This campaign is co-branded. So we are allowing everyone who wants to, from member businesses, to make this their own by adding their own logo, just to show our strength and show how big we are. And so you can promote this to your own customers. We've chosen the color palette very carefully to ensure that it works with various companies' logos. We basically tried to play Switzerland and make sure that we weren't basically showing a certain color that may be perceived as being a company's color. So Liz, next please. So here are some of the campaign materials. This is not all of them, but these are some of them. So these are two of the social media posts or ads. They can be run either way. You can post them on your channels, or if you want to put more money into it, you can also buy ads through the various social media channels. These will be made available for sizes for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So as you can see, we've got a few different images, a few different headlines, but the logo for your business can go on the bottom left. That is easily swapped out. And next, please. A couple more social media posts. Again, just driving home different messages, build up your community, support your neighbors. Next, please. Another one about keeping your money in the community. So those were the social media posts. The one on the right is also a social media post. This is something that WRLA will be posting to our channels, and we will be encouraging member businesses to share and also the general public to share about different ways to support. So you don't always have to just go and buy more products. Sometimes it's about just leaving a review, preferably obviously a good one, liking their posts, sharing a post, telling friends and family about them. There are different ways to help local businesses, so we intended for this post to focus on that. Next, please, Medea. And the post on the left is intended to be something that we hope will go viral, but the intention is for people to share this. So this is something that just everybody can share and show their support of shopping local and encourage their friends and family to do the same. And the one on the right is actually a poster that stores can add their logo to and put it up in their stores just as a thank you for coming by and shopping local, to reiterate the fact that they are a local store. And we also, it's not here, but we also will have a social media post that is also a thank you that businesses can share to their social media pages, saying thank you to their existing customers. So as I mentioned, the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and then some in-store. All the graphics will be available starting next week, and you can email the website or the email address there, marketing@wrla.org, to find out how to access that. Everything will be available via Dropbox. And like I said, it's super easy to change out that spot that says your logo here with your actual logo. But we will have instructions on how to do that when we send out the campaign materials. And that's it for me. So does anybody have any questions? Got some chats. No, all good. You're on mute, Liz.
And one of the other areas where we were also hoping to garner some support is, even though this is intended to be supporting the dealers and driving traffic to the local dealers, there's an opportunity for the vendors to also help support this by following and sharing. And we really would like to do our part to make sure that our members are present on social media. Some of you are very familiar in terms of some of the webinars that we've had. I've seen a few of our frequent customers who've been participating in our webinars. We've had Google reviews. We've talked about the 101 on social media. We've done Instagram, Facebook. We recently had a presentation from Shopify, as well as on coming out of this pandemic and how you can use advertising dollars to help support that piece. And one of the key messages that really came out of all of those presentations is, if businesses want to thrive and continue to evolve, they need to be present where the consumer is present. So the purpose of starting with social media is to help really develop that social media presence and to continue to grow that with our membership. Okay, I don't see any other questions at this time, so I think we will sign off unless anyone has anything else they want to add. Of course, we're here to take any questions after this presentation, so if you would like to send an email or give us a call, we're happy to speak with you, and we will be posting this to the website so that you can share with your colleagues as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a really great day.